Most runners are making one big mistake, and it's killing their progress. They train too hard, too often, and wonder why they're always stuck. It's happened to me lots of times. Today I'm going to show you exactly why aerobic running is the key to unblocking your speed, endurance, and how to find your maximum heart rate and set up your heart rate zones using a different method than you probably have used before. If you're trying to run faster and longer, but you're constantly hitting a wall, you're probably missing one key thing: aerobic running. And most runners completely misunderstand how it can actually work in their benefit. So what is aerobic running? Why is it so important? And how do I use it to improve my endurance, speed, and overall running efficiency? So grab a coffee and let's get into it. All right, so first, what is aerobic running? Simply put, it's running at an intensity where your body primarily uses oxygen and fat for fuel instead of burning through your carbohydrate stores. And all this happens is when you're training in your aerobic zone, typically around 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. For most runners, that's a pace where you can breathe easily and hold a conversation. It feels slow, sometimes painfully slow, but this is where the magic happens. Here's where most runners get it wrong. They think, like I thought, running slow will make them slow. So they push harder, thinking that grinding out faster miles will make them faster. But the truth, you have to slow down to be able to speed up. And why is this? Because your aerobic system is what fuels over 90% of your endurance running. If it's underdeveloped, you're relying too much on anaerobic energy, burning through your carbohydrate stores, fatiguing quickly, and increasing your risk of injury. That's why you might feel strong after a 5K, but completely done after a 10K or longer. I know, because that's how I used to feel. Now, before you train aerobically, you'll need to know your true maximum heart rate. And no, we're not using the 220 minus your age or 180 minus your age. They're just estimates, and sometimes they're inaccurate. However, they still play a very valid part of the endurance training. So instead, here's a simple running test that you can do on your own to find your maximum heart rate. First, warm up 10 to 15 minutes. Start with an easy walking or jogging for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then add in a few strides, short sprints, 15 to 20 seconds to get your body ready. Method 1 is hill repeat test. So this is where you would find a hill steep enough to take about 60 to 90 seconds to climb at full effort. Step 2 would be warm up, and this is where you're going to run easy for 10 to 15 minutes. Step 3, this is where the fun begins. This is the work phase. So this is where you would sprint up the hill hard. Like this is race pace. So think like, 10K. Then you're going to jog back down for recovery or walk. Now you want to repeat this 3 to 5 times, increasing the effort each time. So on the final push, you want to go as fast as possible. Number 5 is you would check your maximum heart rate. Now this would be the highest heart rate during or immediately after the last climb. And this would be your maximum heart rate. And you'll probably want to do this maybe a few seconds after you finished because it takes a little bit of time for your watch to update. And this is 5-minute intervals. So the first thing you'll want to do is your warm up. So that would be a 15 to 20 minutes of easy running or, power walking, so to speak. Number 2 would be run for 5 minutes at a hard but controlled effort, and I'm talking 10K race pace. Number 3 would be increased effort, running another 5 minutes near all out. We're talking 5K race pace. You want to feel it on this one. Number 4 would be your final sprint. This would be pushing as hard as you can for approximately 1 to 2 minutes. I mean, this is hard, your hardest that you could possibly push. Step number 5, this would be where you check your maximum heart rate. this would be the highest number recorded in this final push. And it's likely going to be your true maximum heart rate. Another method that you could try is doing the track ladder test. And this test builds intensity gradually, and it's going to force your heart rate to rise with controlled effort before an all-out sprint at the end. So the steps would be warm up is your first step, and that's going to be jog easily, 10 to 15 minutes. Number 2, this is going to be your 400 meter, so once around the track at 8K race pace, and then it's going to be a steady effort. So try to keep your pace the same all the way through. Number 3, again, is another 400 meter at 5K pace. And this is run another lap slightly faster. And the next one is a 200 meter at mile pace. Now, this is where you pick up the intensity significantly. That's halfway around the track. Number 5 is a 100 meter sprint. And this is where you give everything that you have in the last stretch. Like you cannot give any more. Then check your highest number recorded at the end of the sprint. And this is going to be your true maximum heart rate. Now, why this works? It gradually rises the heart rate without overloading early on. The all-out 100 meter sprint pushes your heart to its limit. The structured pacing ensures you don't burn out too fast or too soon. This is a hard one. So I would do this with probably someone around you, just in case. Safety first, remember. There are lots of variations of ways that you can do this. Obviously, if you go to a lab, you can get this tested and figured out for you. Again, there's so many different ways. These are just like 3 different examples that you can choose from. You have to figure out what works for you. So now that you've found your maximum heart rate, let's talk about heart rate reserve and how to use the Kvarvin formula to set up your 5 heart rate training zones for better accuracy. Heart rate reserve is your maximum heart rate minus your resting heart rate. And to find your resting heart rate, you'll want to wear a watch overnight or check your pulse in the morning before getting out of bed. Over the past number of months, I've been using the Kvarvin method, which uses my maximum heart rate and my resting heart rate to dial in your heart rate zones. The Kvarvin method is a popular method for determining heart rate training zones, and it involves using a formula. Target heart rate equals maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate times intensity plus resting heart rate. The Kvarvin method is based on the idea that the best way to train is to work at an intensity that is relative to the individual's level by taking into account your resting heart rate and your maximum heart rate. The Kvarvin method can help you determine the ideal intensity of your training type and your zones. Look, you have a unique physiology. You will want to customize your zones to reflect so. So go and do a max heart rate test like I mentioned before. Then you'll need to sleep with a watch that has a heart rate monitor on it for a few nights to find your lowest heart rate. Then take your maximum heart rate from the maximum heart rate test, then your lowest possible heart rate overnight while you've been sleeping. Put that in the Kvarvin calculator right here, and it uses a formula to calculate your exact zones. Now here's the thing, you'll have to trust those zones even if it's hard for you to stay under the numbers. Remember, you're building a base first, then you can move on to 80-20 training. Now, using the Kvarvin formula ensures that your training zones are personalized based on your fitness level rather than some generic formulas. This means better endurance, faster recovery, and more efficient workouts. Look, there's a lot of ways of doing these things, but trust me, these are just some of the basics to kind of get you started. They worked for me, and I'm just sharing them with you. Now, you could also use your Garmin watch or Kuros watch to estimate your heart rate in real time. Now, there are different fitness tests that you can use on both of these watches. I'm not going to get into all of that, but there's an option on how to do that, okay? The Kuros watch, I'll be able to see that in my Evo Labs metrics and like a workout summary. So after the test, I can update my heart rate with all the zones manually to reflect my new heart rate zones. So that way, at least I have accurate information. And I probably want to do that a couple of times a year because, again, depending on if you stop working out, then all those numbers may shift a couple of months later. Or if you're doing a lot of workouts and you're getting stronger, then you may want to do it to see exactly where things are at now. So how do you train aerobically? Well, here are 3 key steps. Train in the right heart rate zone, and the best way to ensure you're running aerobically is by using a heart rate monitor. Again, your watch. So run slow to build your base. Now, most of your weekly runs, or about 80% of them, should be done at an easy aerobic pace, such as zone 2. Now, you want to be patient, which is number 3, because the results will come. When it comes to aerobic adaptations, it takes time. However, after a few weeks or months, your pace at that same heart rate will improve. Most runners train the wrong way, pushing too hard, too often, and never building a real aerobic base. But when you get this right, your pace improves without working harder. Your endurance skyrockets, and running actually feels much easier. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to structure your training so that way you can start seeing the real progress, and maybe you may see it fast. This is where we bring it all together. If you're running aerobically, keep your heart rate in zone 2. That's 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. You can expect to see improvements within 4 to 12 weeks, depending on several factors. One is short-term improvements. That's 4 to 6 weeks. Low heart rate training at the same pace, your body becomes more efficient at delivering oxygen to your muscles. Easier breathing and less fatigue, running at an easy pace will start to feel even easier. Faster recovery, your heart rate returns to normal quicker after you finish your run. So for me, when I finish, I literally see my heart rate start to just go straight down. But if it stays elevated, you know you got a problem. Now, as we continue, we hit the midterm improvements, are 8 to 12 weeks. This is increased pace at the same heart rate. You'll also notice your easy pace getting easier, more endurance. Your long runs feel easier and you can run further with less effort. Fat adaptation, your body starts to use fat as a fuel source more efficiently, reducing the bonking that may incur as you train at those higher intensities. That's where the bonking happens. That's what happened when I was running my second marathon. I just crashed because I had nothing left. I couldn't tap into my fat stores because my body didn't know how to revert from running, burning carbohydrates to running, burning fat easily. It wouldn't let me run. I literally could not run. That's what bonking feels like. So long-term gains, that's like 6 months plus to like whatever years. You'll find that your aerobic base gets bigger, right? The longer you stay consistent, the more efficient your aerobic system becomes. It becomes very sustainable at paces faster than you thought you could when you first started, when you were using heart rate training. And you don't have to worry about spiking on your pace either, because you'll be able to run faster at that same low heart rate. Lower risk of injury. So your tendons are stronger, your ligaments are stronger, and your overall durability, you're stronger. Now, the key to faster progress is consistency, running 3 to 5 times per week in zone 2. Strength training, 1 to 2 sessions per week improves strength and efficiency. Patience. Many runners quit too soon before real gains have a chance to set in. Now, you gotta stick with it, and in a few months, you'll be running faster at the same low heart rate. Now, an important part of this is you have to track your results. So I'm going to pull a piece of the puzzle from the Maffetone training, which is how you track your progress. So yes, we are going to do a MAF test, and that is your maximum aerobic function. And you're going to do this once a month, or you could do it every 2 weeks. And this is how you can track your aerobic progress. Now, it will show you if your training is working or if it is not. So how to do a MAF test, basically all you're going to do is you're just going to warm up 15 minutes, easy jogging, just to get your heart rate in your aerobic zone. I like running 10 kilometers, that's 6 miles. Now, you could do maybe 3 miles if you want, but just set a distance. And whether you're using zone 2 training, like we're talking about here when I talk about heart rate training, or whether you're using the Maffetone method, which is the 180 minus your age, like I said at the beginning, you don't have to. Now, to do this test, ideally what you'll want to do is do it once a month, or you could do it every 2 weeks. You want to make sure that you pick a route that you do the same, right? The same run that you would do every month or every 2 weeks. And you want to pick the same time of day. Ideally, you want the same type of weather, but we all know when you're living in different parts of the world where the weather changes on a dime, you're not going to be running in the same type of conditions. So you have to factor that in. So if the hotter it is, then your heart rate's going to be much higher because your body's trying to cool itself. And you deal with dehydration a lot more. And then when it's cold, you're dealing with the cold, obviously, and your veins are much, I think, narrower, and your body's trying to stay warm. Anyways, so these are things to consider when you're doing a MAF test, because a lot of things kind of affect that side of things. So to do the MAF test, literally, you just need to warm up. 15 minutes, easy jogging, just to get your heart rate in your aerobic zone. You could do fast-paced walking, that type of thing, right? So you want to run like 6 miles, 3 miles, right? You want to use that in your zone 2 heart rate training. And then you want to record each kilometer, each mile split, and note the average pace. And then you can compare over time. If your pace is improving at the same heart rate, your aerobic system should be getting stronger. Expected progress, if you are training consistently in your heart rate zone, is you should be dropping 10 to 30 seconds per kilometer over a few months. Now, if you're not improving or seeing your times decrease, it may be due to overtraining, understanding, undertraining, poor recovery, stress, nutrition, including caffeine intake. Yes, I know there's a lot there, but the body is a complex thing. Now, the amount of running needed to see the results depend on your current fitness level, your goals, your recovery ability. So for aerobic progress, here's a solid kind of guideline. The minimum amount of aerobic gains would look like this. 3 to 4 runs per week is ideal for beginners or those rebuilding their fitness. 30 to 60 minutes per run in zone 2 or your MAF zone. Weekly volume could be 25 to 40 kilometers, 15 to 20 miles. This would be enough to see a steady improvement in probably about 8 to 12 weeks, especially if combined with strength training and proper recovery. Now, the ideal volume for faster aerobic progress that I've noticed in my training is 5 to 6 runs per week for those with a solid base. 60 to 90 minutes for most runs. On a long run, 90 plus. And total volume would be about 50 to 80 kilometers. That's 30 to 50 miles. With this, you're likely to see a bigger aerobic gain within 6 to 8 weeks. And your pace at that same heart rate will improve faster. Now, for long-term aerobic growth is 6 months to years, would be 80 to 120 kilometers, that's 50 to 75 miles per week for serious runners. Daily running with 80% of your mileage coming from zone 2. MAF low heart rate running plus occasional higher intensities to kind of balance it out. Now, important is more isn't always better. Your body needs time to adapt, so increase volume gradually. Consistency beats mileage spikes. It's better to run 4 times a week consistently than to push for higher mileage and burn out and only run once a week. Strength training, I would say 1 to 2 times per week, can really help prevent injuries and improve your running economy. What's your current mileage per week? That'll help you fine-tune a plan that works best for you. Trust the progress. If I was you, I would trust the progress. Running slow today will make you a faster runner tomorrow. If this video has helped, and you feel a connection and you think you'll be able to move forward or somebody else could benefit from this, hit that like button, subscribe for more running tips. Let me know in the comments, have you tried aerobic-based training? And if you have, what's been your experience with it? What results have you seen? As I always say, get out and run. Once a runner, always a runner.